Dear student, today we will discuss new drug development. We see we see many drugs in market, thousands. Dear student, today's topic of discussion is new drug development. There are several drugs are available in the market. We see hundreds or thousands of medicine that can be seen very easily in the market. Have you ever thought that how these drugs come in the market, what is the procedure, what is the route through which they are developed and they come in the market? The whole procedure, the whole process is called as new drug development. This drug development procedure is very expensive, that cost almost 1 billion US dollar, that is calculated to 7 to 8,000 crore rupees in Indian currency. 7 to 8,000 Indian rupees. So it's a huge amount to make a drug enter in the market. And not only money is involved, there is a huge time is also involved. 10 to 12 or 15 years may be involved to approve a drug, to take a drug in the market. And to after spend so much of money and so much of time, it is not sure the drug will be marketed or not. So it's a very huge risky business. The success is not sure. So what is the different stages of drug development? Broadly speaking, the drug development process can be divided into three main phases. First phase is drug discovery phase. Second phase is preclinical phase. And third phase is clinical trial phase. In drug discovery phase, in this the chemical and different sophisticated instruments are involved. In preclinical phase, the molecule is studied in animals. In clinical trial phase, the drug is studied, it is explored in humans. So the word clinical is for humans. And because the animal study is before the human study, that's why animal study is called as preclinical phase. In drug discovery phase, the candidate molecules are chosen on the basis of their pharmacological property. And the promising molecule will undergo in animal study, during which a wide range of animal studies are performed, like pharmacokinetic study, ADMA studied, pharmacodynamic studied, and toxicities studied are done in different types of animals. In clinical trial phase, the drug is studied in humans when it is safe enough to be studied in them after a study in animals, during which the lead compound is evaluated for efficacy, safety, and adverse effect in human volunteer as well as in patient. The same thing we can see also in this image. The first drug is discovered and characterization of a new drug. After that, it undergoes the preclinical studies. When the drug has been studied in animals and it is proved that it is safe enough to be studied in humans, The investigational new drug application is submitted to the regulator. IND. IND means investigational new drug application is submitted to the drug regulator office. Then clinical, and when the approval comes from the drug regulator, in Indian context, drug regulator is CDSCO. When the approval comes, then clinical studies are taken place in different phases in humans, and after the phase 3 study, there is NDA is submitted to the drug regulator. NDA is new drug application. NDA, the drug is new drug is eligible to be entered in the market. So NDA is applied in CDSCO, that is drug regulator, and after the approval, the drug comes in the market, and after enter in the market, the drug is still evaluated for post marketing surveillance, that is phase 4 study. In the drug discovery phase, there are many approaches. Out of them, one approach is random screening. Random screening is a sort of blind hitting procedure because as the name suggests itself, it is a random screening. So it is a blind hitting procedure where new chemical entities, it may be natural or synthetic, they are subjected to a battery of pharmacological screening procedures designed to explore different types of biological activity. Such tests include studies on animal behavior, animal models of the disease, and on isolated tissues as well. Although such approaches are cumbersome, time consuming, expensive, and seemingly inefficient in providing fruitful results, however, these are at times valuable because many drugs like morphine, atropine, digitalis were derived this way from folklore medicine only. After that, the second approach in drug discovery phase is serendipity. What is serendipity? It is by chance discovery. You have gone through the phenomena of apple dropping. The Newton saw when he was lying down on the ground, and from that accident of apple fall from the plant, he discovered the phenomena of gravity. That is the by chance discovery. Following the same line, when the drug was discovered by chance, this phenomena is called as serendipity. One famous example of drug discovery by serendipity is discovery of penicillin drug by Alexander Fleming. In serendipity, a new use is discovered for an old drug or its side effect, a new therapeutic application, or a new drug is discovered by the phenomena of serendipity. A new use is also discovered for an old drug, for example, lignocaine. It was used in local anesthetic agent. Later, it was found to be effective as antiarrhythmic agent. Similarly, was true for phenytoin. The third approach in drug discovery is rational drug designing. It is a planned procedure. Two basic strategies are used in rational drug designing. One of them is compound centered approach and second is target centered approach. What is compound centered approach? This approach is centered around compound. For example, from a fungus Penicillium notatum, an antimicrobial was separated, namely penicillin. This was the natural product, and from penicillin, G was obtained from Penicillium notatum. And taking the penicillin G compound, different other types of penicillin were developed, like benzathine penicillin, like procaine penicillin, like amoxicillin, ampicillin, B-campicillin. So these different types of penicillin were developed taking this compound centered approach, and that compound was penicillin G, that was extracted, that was separated from fungus Penicillium notatum. So this is the compound centered approach. There are few disadvantages of this approach. Obtaining lead product from natural source is that these are often complex molecules which are difficult to be synthesized. It is ultimately difficult to synthesize their modified analogs, hence that's why lead optimization becomes difficult. What is lead optimization? We will discuss later on. So in compound centered approach, one compound is separated, and taking that compound, different other type of compound or drugs are developed. This is compound centered approach. There are some advantages of this approach. Drugs this way can be developed from pharmacological data obtained from structure activity relationship of an established drug. As we have discussed, penicillin G is separated from Penicillium notatum, and the structure of penicillin G is modified to obtain different type of other penicillin. So the structure activity relationship is used to obtain other type of penicillin. For example, first of all, a beta blocker propranolol was developed, and this propranolol structure is modified and different other type of beta blockers were developed. So this is the structure activity relationship. And because of this structure activity relationship and compound centered approach, me too likes drugs come in the picture. Me too picture means the similar drugs following the following the compound centered approach are developed. Second approach is target centered approach. For example, you have been discussed last year, angiotensinogen is converted into angiotensin 1 by the enzyme renin, and this angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2 by an enzyme, angiotensin converting enzyme. And this angiotensin 2 is causing hypertension by different mechanism. So if we want to control hypertension, we have to inhibit ACE enzyme. We have to inhibit angiotensin converting enzyme, because when this enzyme will be inhibited, angiotensin 2 will be produced less, and when it will be produced less, so blood pressure will not be elevated. So the target is ACE. Target is angiotensin converting enzyme. This is our target. We have to inhibit this enzyme. This is our target. If we want to develop an antihypertensive drug, we will take this target, and different types of compounds are developed that will inhibit this enzyme. And we will thousands of compounds will act upon this enzyme, and out of these thousands of molecule, we will take the most suitable compound, and this most suitable compound will be called as lead compound, because this lead compound will lead us to development of an antihypertensive drug. Okay, so we will now discuss target center approach. Is a valid biochemical or molecular targets are used to search for promising compounds. For example, it was known that inhibition of angiotensin converting enzyme blocks conversion of angiotensin first to angiotensin second and lowers the blood pressure. Hence, it made sense to look for ACE inhibitor like lisinopril, ramipril, etc. A large number of drugs which are now available were developed following target centered approach. Nowadays, main approach for drug development is target centered approach. With this approach, there is high likelihood of getting useful promising agent for lead optimization. So when the target protein is identified, cloning of target protein is done. Identification of functional activity of target protein and different type of chemical structure and different type of computer work will involve, and high throughput screening and or high ultra high throughput screenings are mainly involved in identification of lead compound and then lead compound for the further stage. The most suitable compound which are inhibiting that enzyme in case of AC inhibitor, it is identified and that is called as lead compound. After the lead compound identification, the next step is lead compound optimization. What is that? Lead compound optimization, which mainly involve increasing the potency of the compound with respect to selectivity, metabolic stability, pharmacokinetics, and toxicological effect on its selected target. When the lead compound is identified, its potency is increased so that if we give the concentration of lead compound in less concentration, it will be effective enough. If it is unstable, it is made stable compound and pharmacokinetic, and its pharmacokinetic features are manipulated so it will work well in animals, and toxicological studies are also done. So this is the procedure of lead compound optimization. So when the lead compound is ready through the process of lead optimization means lead compound is optimum enough to be studied in animals now. Now with the optimum lead compound is studied in animals. Now preclinical studies are carried out in animals after synthesizing or identifying a prospective compound. These preclinical studies are tested on animals to expose the whole pharmacological profile in different types of animals, rodent animal or larger animal. Rodent animal may be mouse, rat, guinea pig, hamster or rabbit, while larger animals are also used for animal studies like cat, dog, monkey. When the unfavorable compound gets rejected, only a few out of thousand reach the stage when administration to man is considered. Different types of tests are considered, they are performed in animals. One of them is in vitro screening test. In vitro means outside of the body. In vivo means inside of the body. So few of the tests are conducted outside of the body, in vitro screening test. They are simple and rapidly performed tests. They indicate presence or absence of a particular pharmacodynamic activity that is sought for. For example, analgesic or hypoglycemic activity is present or not. Suppose we are studying a new compound that is claimed to have analgesic activity. It is given in a compound, it is given in a in vitro test so that we can come to know that the compound is having analgesic activity or not. Second type of test are tests on isolated organs and bacterial cultures. Third type, test on animal models of human disease. For example, we want to study the efficacy of a anti-diabetic drug in animals. Anti-diabetic drug, that means that is supposed to lower the blood glucose level. So now how will we study its effect in animals? First we will produce diabetes in an animal artificially with alloxan. Alloxan is a chemical which induces diabetes in an animal. First, we will produce diabetes in an animal, then, we will give a drug which is supposed to reduce blood sugar in that animal so that we can check, we can evaluate the efficacy of anti diabetic drug. Okay. Fourth test are quantitative test. As we have discussed in pharmacodynamic, the dose response relationship, maximum effect, and comparative potency efficacy with existing drug are decided with these tests. Pharmacokinetic studies are also done. Okay. Toxicity tests are also done in animals so that we can come to know the adverse effect of this drug in animals. The aim is to determine safety of the compound in at least two animal species. One animal species will be rodent and second will be non-rodent. In rodent species, mouse, rat, hamster will be there, and in large animal, dog will be there. And in animal species, one route will be oral and other route will be parental route. Acute toxicity studies are different type: acute, subacute, and chronic. In acute toxicity studies, single escalating doses are given to a small group of animals. As because the name suggests itself, it is acute toxicity, so the duration of toxicity study will be less, say 1 to 3 days, in which LD50 is calculated. LD50, as we have discussed in pharmacodynamics, what is LD50? It is the dose of the drug which will kill 50% of the animal. So LD50 is counted, and when the animal is killed, organ toxicity is examined by histopathology on all animals. Apart from acute toxicity, subacute toxicity is also studied. In subacute toxicity, the repeated doses are given for 2 to 12 weeks, depending on the duration of intended treatment in man. Doses are selected on the basis of ED50 and LD50, and animals are examined for overt effect, food intake, body weight, hematology, and others. In chronic toxicity, chronic means for longer duration. The drug is given for longer duration like 6 to 12 months, and effects are studied as in subacute toxicity. Okay. And then it is found that this drug is safe enough in animals, it is producing desired response in animals. Now it is this study has to be taken place in humans. The pharmaceutical company submit an application to the drug regulator for IND license, investigational new drug license. These are the clinical trial, these are the human trials, and these are governed by good clinical practice guideline that was laid down by International Conference on Harmonization. In India, ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, they have also framed ethical guideline for conduct of clinical trials. There are other guidelines also like Helsinki Declaration of World Medical Association, and there is also Schedule Y of drug and cosmetic rules. These different types of guidelines and schedule rules, they govern clinical trials in India. Now the clinical trials have different phases. Clinical trials are the study of a new drug molecule in humans, and these have different stages: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. After the completion of phase 3 successfully, the drug enters in the market, and after enter the drug in the market, the phase 4 is started. The phase 4 studies are also called as post marketing surveillance. Now we will discuss what happens in different phases of clinical trial. Before the clinical trial, before the human trial, the drug has been studied in animals. We have some rough idea about the safety of the drug. We have the some idea, rough idea about the effective dose of the drug. From taking the idea from animal study, now we will study the drug in humans. The drug is first studied in healthy volunteer in spite of patient. The drug first is given in healthy individual, not in patient. And after administration of the drug in healthy individuals, the safety of the drug is first ascertained. The safety of the drug is decided first in healthy individuals. And its pharmacokinetic is also studied. When the safety status of the drug is established in healthy individual, then only the drug is entered in the second phase. And then in second phase, we will study the efficacy of the drug. How much efficacious is how much efficacious the drug is, it is studied in phase second. We will explore the efficacy of the drug in patient. The phase second study is not done in healthy individual, because the efficacy, we have to decide the efficacy in the phase second, and the efficacy cannot be decided in the healthy individual. It has to be decided only in patient. And the efficacy of the drug is confirmed in phase 3 trial, when it is given in a bigger number. The phase second study is conducted in the hundreds of patients, while the phase 3 study is conducted in the thousands of patients. So the finding of the phase second is confirmed in the phase 3 trials. And at the end of the phase 3, when it is established the drug is efficacious, the drug is safe, the drug is capable to enter in the market, the pharmaceutical company and the submit NDA application, new drug application, and after the approval from drug regulatory body, the drug enters in the market. So what is phase first study? It is the first human administration of the drug, because before the phase 1 the drug has been studied in animals only. So the phase 1 study is the first human administration of the drug, and these human are healthy individual, they are not patient. But in some of the cases like anti-cancer drug, healthy individuals are not taken in the phase first study. In those studied, phase 1 study is also conducted in patients only. And how many healthy volunteers are take part in phase 1 study? Around 20 to 80 subjects, 20 to 80 persons. Phase 1 study is started with the lowest estimated dose, and the dose is increased stepwise to achieve the carried out by a qualified clinical pharmacologist or trained physician in a setting where all vital functions are monitored and emergency or resuscitative facility are available. So we will try to know the effective dose that can be given in humans. What is the aim of the phase 1 study? The emphasis is on safety. Always safety in the phase 1 it is the emphasis. How much the drug is safe, how much it is tolerable, and we want to detect any potential dangerous effect on vital functions such as dangerous fall or rise in blood pressure or heart rate, arrhythmia, bronchospasm, seizure, any kidney or liver damage. These all parameters comes under heading of safety. Unpleasant side effects are noted and attempt is made to observe the pharmacodynamic effects in men. The human pharmacokinetic parameters of the drug are measured for the first time because these are the first in human study. So the human pharmacokinetic parameters are also measured. But the emphasis, the main purpose of the phase 1 study is to decide the safety of the drug. In phase 2nd study, it involved 100 to 500 patients. Here, not the handy individual. Here, the patients are involved. 100 to 500 patients are selected according to specific inclusion and exclusion criteria. The aim of the phase 2nd study is therapeutic exploration and dose ranging. Okay. So in this study, we will establish the therapeutic efficacy and the dose range. In what dose, in in what dose the drug will be effective, it is studied. These studies are mostly controlled and randomized, and they may be blinded or open label. In open label, the patient and investigator both know whether he is taking the drug or whether he is taking the old drug or new drug. While in the blinding, they don't know it. It is generally carried out at 2 to 4 centers. Phase 2nd study, this is conducted by physicians who are trained as clinical investigators. Phase 3 study, that is the therapeutic confirmation or comparison. What the efficacy that has been established in the phase 2nd, that is confirmed in phase 3 study on a larger patient population. For example, 500 to 3000 patients by several physicians at multiple centers. Generally, they are randomized double-blind comparative trials. We compare the new drug to the established drug. Aim of the phase 3 trial is to establish the value of the drug in relation to existing therapy. How much the drug is efficacious as compared to the old drug, as compared to the established drug. This is studied in phase 3 trial. Because we are giving the drug in a large number of patients, so safety and tolerability are assessed on a wider scale. Pharmacokinetic studies may be conducted on some of the participants to enlarge the population. So when the drug passes the phase 3 study successfully, a new drug application is submitted to the licensing authority. When it is convinced, it gives marketing permission. So after the successful completion of the phase 3 and on the approval of NDA application by drug regulatory body, the drug is approved to enter in the market. And phase 4 studies are conducted after the entry of the drug in market. That's why they are called as post marketing surveillance or post marketing studies, because these are the studies after enter into the market. So after the drug has been marketed for general use, the drug is available in market, it is prescribed by physician in a hundreds number or in thousands of number. So practicing physicians are identified through whom data are collected. The data are collected from physicians on a structured pro forma about the efficacy, acceptability, and adverse effect of the drug. So, that is quite similar to prescription event monitoring. So patient treated in the normal course from the studied population, their number are much larger because the drug is available in market now. So n number of physician can prescribe it and we can collect data from these physician. So what is the aim of phase 4 study? Uncommon or idiosyncratic adverse effect can be studied in phase 4 study, phase 4 clinical trial. Because the phase 4 study are conducted in a huge number of patients, so the adverse effects that are very uncommon or rare, that can be detected in phase 4 study, that are not explored in the previous trials. So pattern of drug utilization and additional indication may also emerge from the surveillance data. So in the previous trial, the drug has not been explored in the pregnant woman, lactating woman, and they are not studied in children also. But in the phase 4 trial, the use of the drug may be explored in this set of patient also. So as such, we can see the most drug they continue their development even after marketing. So in this table we can see the difference between the different phases: first phase, second phase, third phase, and fourth phase. Participant in first phase, as we have discussed, the first phase is the first in human study. So this is the first phase and we take healthy individual in first phase, while in the remaining phases, second phase, third phase, and fourth phase, the participants are patient, they are not healthy. How many number of participants are there? In first phase 20 to 80 participants. In second phase 100 to 500 of patient, in which we explore the therapeutic efficacy of the drug, and in the third phase we will confirm the finding of second phase. So third phase is conducted in the thousands of number, 500 to 3000 of patient. The drug is administered at different center, so it is a multi-centric study. While in fourth phase, the drug is available in the market, the n number of physician can prescribe it, so many fold of the patient are participant in the fourth phase. Now what is the difference between the aim of the different phases? The first phase we will aim to explore safety, tolerability, and adverse effect of the drug. In the second and third phase, we will stress upon efficacy of the drug. In the second phase, we will explore the efficacy of the drug, and in the third phase, we will confirm the efficacy of the drug. So in second phase, establishment of therapeutic efficacy, dose range, and ceiling effect we will study, and these are called as therapeutic exploratory study. In the third phase, we will establish the value of the drug in relation to existing therapy, whether it is valuable in comparison to the available treatment or not. we will confirm therapeutic efficacy. So these are the therapeutic confirmatory studies, not exploratory. Okay. In the fourth phase, uncommon or idiosyncratic adverse effects are studied, or those occur that occur only after the long term administration. Who are the investigator we who control the different phases of clinical trial? In first phase, qualified clinical pharmacologists or trained physicians, while in the remaining phases, physicians are investigator. Which type of study it is? In first phase, it is a open label study. Both the participant and investigator know the who is receiving the which drug. So it is an open label study. In the second phase, they are controlled and randomized. They may be blinded or open label. But in the third phase, that is the therapeutic confirmatory study, they are the randomized study and double blind comparative trial, because there is a comparison has to be done between the new drug and the established drug. Okay, and the fourth phase is open label study. Apart from these four different phases of trial, there is a new phase, that is the phase 0 study, also called as microdosing human study. As the name suggests itself, name is zero, phase 0. So it is undertaken before phase 1 trial. Why there is a need to undertake the phase 0 trial? Because many candidate drugs fail during clinical trial due to suboptimal human pharmacokinetics. Whatever the dose is explored in animal study, it is given to humans, but later on in different stages of trial, this drug fail because of suboptimal human pharmacokinetic. Either it is not absorbed fully, or not distributed well, or they are unstable compound, or they are excreted rapidly. Because of these pharmacokinetic feature, the drug molecule fail. To overcome this limitation, the phase 0 studies are conducted. The drug are given in very low dose, generally about 1/100th of the estimated human dose. They are given in very low dose. Micro dose study, the drug is given in the range of microgram, 100 microgram. Maximum dose is 100 microgram. They are administered to healthy volunteers, not in patient, and pharmacokinetic is worked out using highly sophisticated instrumentation, so that we can reduce the cost and time of the drug development procedures. What are the advantages of microdosing study or phase 0 study? These are the subpharmacological dose, because the drug is given in the maximum to 100 microgram. So these are the subpharmacological dose. They are not expected to produce any therapeutic or toxic effect, but they can provide human pharmacokinetic information. We can come to know how much it will be absorbed, what will be the bioavailability, what will be the volume of distribution, how it will be metabolized or eliminated. These all parameters can be obtained with microdosing study. Sometimes these study may obviate the need for animal pharmacokinetic study, and they can be undertaken before extensive animal toxicity study. So we can elaborate animal study, and costly phase 1 human trial could be avoided for candidate drug which would have later failed due to unsuitable human pharmacokinetic. So these by conducting phase 0 study, we can spare the extensive animal study, and we can spare the phase 1 study. If the drug fails in the phase 0 study, we can stop the further phases of clinical trial. Moreover, the pharmacokinetic zero phase data could be useful in more precise selection of doses for phase 1 study. But microdosing study offers some limitation also. We are giving the very minute dose of drug, maximum 100 microgram, and we want to study pharmacokinetic feature with this dose. So sometimes the drug in microdose pharmacokinetic of drug in microdose, it may be quite different from at pharmacological dose. So we cannot assume pharmacokinetic of the drug that is given in the pharmacological range, it will be similar to the microdose. Second limitation of microdosing study is that these studies are not technically fully developed. They are not established yet, and they are not mandatory. However, they are promising, and most regulatory authority are willing to allow and consider them. So this finishes with the new drug development process. Now this is a question on the this topic, and it is: with respect to clinical trials of new drugs, which of the following is most correct? First option is phase 1 involved the study of a small number of normal volunteer by a highly trained clinical pharmacologist. Second option is phase 2 involved the use of new drug in a large number of patients, 1000 to 5000, who have the disease to be treated. Third option is phase 3 involved the determination of the drug's therapeutic index by the cautious induction of toxicity. And fourth option is phase 4 involved the detailed study of toxic effect that have been discovered in phase 3. Okay, so this finishes the topic. Thank you.